Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're back on Our Life Begins in Always, the Derek DLC. So let's get to it. Okay, so here we go. And we're looking for this one. Oh, okay. No, here. Okay. This one, yeah. Okay. Alright, we've already done the responsible moment, we've done the lemonade moment, so today we're doing siblings moment. Get comfortable here. Sorry about that. You stretch your arms high as you stepped into the spot on your wooden floor where the last rays of sunshine landed. The remaining warmth of the day was still enough to tickle your skin. You felt pleasantly full from dinner, and the only thing that was left on your plate was waiting for a knock. Oh, our boy is here. Derek closed your door as he came in behind you. You got to spend the afternoon together, and you knew his mom would arrive to pick him up any minute. Thanks for having me, Chippy. Of course. Yeah, exactly what I was just. They already. Yeah, it was already there. I didn't even have to say it because it was already there, right? But I hope you're not bummed that my mom's made Elizabeth do the dishes after you offered to. Derek pressed his palms together, flipping each hand over and under in a loop. It could almost be viewed as a mock uh, washing gesture, but he was probably being awkward. Yeah. I just thought it would be fair. I didn't help with the cooking. Mm. Hmm. Yeah, I think the first one. Since we're trying to get close to him, you're so sweet.
Aw.
Thanks. Oh, oh, Derek, Mr. Manners. But before you could settle in enough to even take a seat, a pounding set of thuds cracked the laid back mood. Derek scratched his limbs totally inward from the shock. You'd been keeping an ear out for the exact sound, but it was completely unnecessary. Tours halfway across town wouldn't miss that blare. The racket was followed by the door Derek had so carefully closed moments ago, roughly swinging open. Oh no, our sister. Right. Obviously, the person on the other side wasn't Miss Suarez. It was your older sister. With a huff and an eye roll, she delivered a brief message as fast as she could spit it out.
Come on.
Derek's mom is here, and your mom made me come get you about it. Oh, our mom made me come get you about it. Okay, sir. Okay, let's do choose. Why did you knock if you weren't going to give us a chance to answer? Hmm. This is probably what I would say. It's like, get out of here. Go do the dishes. Uh. Hmm. Hmm. Thanks for telling us. Yeah. We'll be polite about it. Even though she's rude. She gave you another roll of her eyes, but didn't waste a single extra word on you. In one motion, she curled her fingers over the edge of the door, twisted around, and yanked the door shut. The books and boxes on your desk shelves shook. Derek's teeth clattered. Clattered too. He whispered through the grimace.
Man.
I know, right? I'm gonna trade Nicholas and George for her, right? Well, just say this. I'm sorry for that. No worries. It's not your fault. She gets extra grouchy sometimes. Right now, for example. Yeah. Derek's shoulders slowly rest down into their resting position, but his expression was pinched. He began to whisper while glancing the way your sister went. His voice was hushed, secretive, almost afraid Elizabeth might slap the door open again and find out he was talking about her. You think it's about the dishes, or I don't know. You could give a half-hearted answer. You could only give a half-hearted answer. You struggled to understand why Elizabeth acted out the way she did a lot of the time. But your mom is waiting. We've got to go so you can get home. Right, Chippy. Derek's mouth opened and closed without saying anything else. He lifted a hand to try gesturing, but dropped that without it going anywhere. It made you raise your eyebrow. Yeah? His bright green eyes squinted hard into narrow slits, but you could still see the way they darted around. His gaze was trained on the ground, scanning across the floorboards, through everything, though everything that really mattered was probably inside his actual head.
Well,
I was wondering. He paused again. Derek's hands balled into tight fists. He let out a breath and finally asked a question. Are you busy tomorrow? You blinked. That was all. That was all? Okay. No. The simple answer still made Derek flinch. It might not be all.
really?
Yeah, I just said. Really? How did I know that was going to come up? I mean, I just said it even before that came up. It was weird. Then he spread his fingers and arms out in not quite a shrug. Would you want to come over to my house for the day? The tone of it, voice, and pose he took was casual in a scripted way. He definitely wanted you to feel like it was totally optional, and no problem if you turned him down. You couldn't tell if that was the end or just another point in a process, but you were going on for the ride. I missed something? Okay, no, I didn't. I can probably do that. I'd have to ask my mom's. Derek leaned in closer, slowly opening his eyes wider. Some kind of suspense was growing.
All right.
All right. He dipped his head in tiny repetitive nods. The look on his face went distant again, the way it did when he was thinking deeply. Then finally, he flung his hands up to complete the shrug and spoke the question he'd been stalling on. Would you want to come over tonight instead and sleep over? We could, camp out in my living room. It'd be fun. Our own little party. Aw. Amy's blushing. Okay. What do we pick here? I think this one. Now that the nervousness made sense to you. I know that's pretty out of nowhere. If you can't make it or don't wanna or anything, I'm totally cool with it. Hmm. 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 I think this one might be the right answer right here. I want to. Hopefully, my mom's will let me.
Awesome.
So is this kind of gotta be like our first date, Derek? Sort of. Come on, we'll ask right now. Yeah, definitely. My mom is waiting for us. The two of you left your bedroom and bounded down the stairs, one after the other. Your warm greeting came as you hit the landing point on the first floor.
Hello.
Hello, Derek and Chippy. Your two moms and Derek's mom were gathered in the entryway of the living room. Derek reached a hand out towards her and waved it. Hey, Mom. Hi, it's nice to see you, Miss Suarez. After smiling at him and you, Derek's mom turned her head over her shoulder to speak to your parents. Thank you again for taking care of him. Mom? Derek uncharacteristically broke polite decorum by interrupting his mom. It got her attention and she let him speak. I had something I wanted to ask you and Ms. Prince. Oh?
Hmm?
What is it, sweetie? He had the attention and encouragement of all three mothers on this stage. Derek didn't beat around the bush the way he did before.
Please?
I was wondering if Chippy could come with us to spend the night at my house, please. He knew your moms well enough to foresee potential concern reactions. And so Derek sped through his extra terms to make sure they heard that part before answering. We'd set up in the living room instead of my room, and my parents and brothers would still be around. People could keep an eye on us. As expected, Mom and Ma weren't instantly thrilled. They were shocked by the possibility. And while he was successful in avoiding the first obvious pitfall, your mom still had completely different apprehension, okay, to fret about.
I don't know.
That's pretty last minute. You're about to walk out the door. We couldn't have Chippy impose. Derek's mom stayed stingingly silent after he popped the question. She fixed a stare at her son, crossed her arms against her chest, and shook her head at him. But the shake didn't mean no. It had another meaning that maybe only Sarah's could get. Still, she smiled.
Yes.
We could find a place for Chippy tonight if there's no family conflict with that, and he would like to come over, of course. Both of your moms turned their faces right towards one another on instinct. They were astounded that Derek's mom didn't mind. Huh? Mom scratched her head over it. Derek had made a huge request with no advanced warning, and Miss Suarez had 3 children to care for already. It seemed unreasonable to her. For your ma, however, a light began to sparkle in her eyes, and when she noticed you looking, she held your gaze. Chippy, do you want to go? I do. Ma wrapped both her arms around one of her wife's.
In that case?
I see. I think that would be alright, just this time. Really? Your mom spluttered. She clearly hadn't gotten to that page of that script. Excuse me. Mom got an encouraging pat on the top of her head. Oh, top of her hand, and her troubles. She remained absolutely perplexed, mouth open, eyes wide. Mom could only process enough to realize that she'd become the odd mom out. She probably didn't know exactly why she was doing it, but Mom turned to look at you. Pack it up, Chippy. You wouldn't want to keep them waiting. Thanks, Mom and Mom. You snapped your gaze to Derek. He'd done the same. The two of you shared a matching look of astoundment. It was almost identical to the gesture your moms had made when Miss Suarez first accepted Derek's proposition? Yeah, I think that's the word.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Prince and Prince. Thanks, Moms. The deal was finalized with a crisp clap from Miss Sarah's. Pamela is right. You should get what you need for the night. You're coming along for the ride. I'll help. Neither of you gave them time to change their minds. You ran back to your room and began to pack in a whirlwind. As you shoved clothes into a backpack, Derek hovered in the center of the room. He fidgeted with his energy that was going unused. Can you get me a spare toothbrush? There's an extra for traveling in the hall closet.
I'm on it.
Gotcha. He was gone in a flash. I think the second one would be the right answer. You made sure to get the basics and something you personally couldn't go without. What would that be? Portable gaming console? No. Pencils and paper? Definitely not makeup because we're guys, so we don't do makeup. So, I'm just gonna say pencils and paper. You made a note in your head to ask your moms to tell Cove where you'd be, since there wasn't time to explain it in person. Oops, okay. Did I skip something? Alright, there we go. Didn't skip anything. But then you remembered a conversation you had with him that morning. He had plans the next day and wouldn't be around for a lot of it anyway. Derek's invite had come at a convenient time. Derek returned in sprint, a toothbrush held over his head in triumph. With a grin, you threw it into the overnight bag that was enough to get you by for a short trip. You zipped it up, hooked it around your shoulder, and went out the door. You checked off the final requirements to leave. For the second time in a matter of minutes, you rushed down your stairs in a flurry of steps, with Derek close enough to that you almost stumbled into him. At the bottom, you came to stand in front of the mom group. We're ready.
Good night.
Perfect. Good luck, kiddos. Have a great time. Gently, rhythmically, Mom ran her hand over your hair. All her precarious hopes for your safety and happiness embedded from her fingertips into you.
Take care.
Good night, Chippy. Take care. I will, and thanks. Oh, is this like a minivan or something? A lot of seats on this car. Must be a minivan. But then, yeah, they do have a big family. They have like the 3 kids. They got Derek and the other two, his 2 brothers. So makes sense. Miss Soros and Derek gave their own goodbyes, and afterwards they returned to the minivan. Yeah, it's a minivan that had brought them here. And then, almost unbelievably, you slid into the vehicle with them to go on the impromptu sleepover. The chill of squeaky leather against your hands and the persistent smell of animal cracker crumbs kept you grounded in reality. Derek bounced against the seat back like a kid on a roller coaster and climbed his belt into place for the ride back to his condo. You strapped in too. You never could have imagined the evening taking you down this literal and mythological road. But you were eager to find out what happened next. The sun continued to sink as Derek's mom drove down the highway. When you arrived at your destination, so had night. The condo complex was nicely lit and well maintained. The 3 of you easily made your way up to Derek's house and went right in. Slapping her set of jingling keys into a nearby wall hook, Miss Soros called out into the hall from the empty living room. "We're home." You braced your ears for the second something caused commotion of the evening that you knew would come.
Derek's back!
Yeah, he's loud. But then he's got what? He's what, 5 or 6 years old, I guess? Something like that. Nicholas tore out of his bedroom and thundered down across the floor until he had his arms gripped around his big brother's legs. Bump against Derek, he absorbed the impact calmly, giving his little sibling a pat on the head for his troubles. "Yeah, we're back." The 2 remaining boys, the family came from the same room at the snail's pace in comparison to the first. But soon enough, Mr. Soros and George were with you too.
Welcome back.
Welcome home. George rubbed growing sleeplessness from one eye. He took in the scene with undisguised confusion. Excuse me, I gotta blow my nose. Sorry about that.
Why?
Why is Chippy here? Yeah, that would be a teethy thing to say. No, we don't really live here. We all know that, so. I'm sleeping over? Yeah, okay. What? Mom? She answered matter of factly. Chippy is staying over with us tonight. George clamped his mouth shut. He might have had something to say about the spur of the moment plans, but was obedient enough to not argue with his mother. Mr. Sowers, however, had a childlike glee in his expression.
Oh!
Oh, very good. Derek cut in to his dad's excitement with a reply a little too soon. He had completely normal words to say, but it been put on fast forward. Yeah, it's great. Thanks, Dad.
Anyway,
we're gonna camp out in the living room. Can we borrow the tent? Derek's hands were balled into fists and held up near his collarbone. Zealously, kind of protectively. His father looked down at him with a familiar, serene expression. You knew exactly where you'd seen it before when Mr. Sowers placed his hand on the top of Derek's head. He took care of Derek the same way Derek cared. He took care of Derek the same way Derek cared for Nicholas. Of course. And the gesture worked the exact same charm on Derek. His shoulders relaxed. His expression softened shyly. The pounding nerves that had been building faded. Camping? Nicholas shouted without warning. The entire exchange had held no interest for the youngest one until that moment. That's right, Nico. Derek reached down and carefully placed his hands on Nicholas's shoulder to nudge him off. Nicholas went willingly, giddily repeating the same word, this time in amazed confirmation rather than as a question. Camping. With a thumbs up, Derek stood tall. The plan was in motion. Chippy, you can put your bag down and sit if you want to. I'll go grab some other stuff. When moving past you, Derek took a second lean in and whispered a light-hearted reassurance.
it's okay.
The little bros will go to bed before we do, and Mom is gonna be watching them tomorrow. You're not here to babysit the whole time again. Okay, cool. The whole group broke off into three sets. Derek ran into his room with Nicholas right on his heels, while Mr. and Miss Suarez left the space to the kids, returning to their own bedroom. You and George stayed where you were. George shuffled over to the kitchen counter to sit on a bar stool. He wasn't helping, but he wasn't getting in the way. George was more sensitive than he let on, and you made sure to smile reassuringly over at him, so he knew he was wanted there. His lips squirked up just a little in response. Then you took your own seat on the couch and got to unpacking. The first thing you pulled out of the bag was your pencils and paper. You placed that on the coffee table for safekeeping. You kept busy sorting through it all until Derek returned with the goods. Two pillows were under each arms. Under each of his arms. He had a few brightly patterned blankets draped over his shoulders, and the rope loop of a big nylon pack was hooked around one waist. Nicholas supported the effort by carrying one long pillow. He clenched it tight to his chest as best as he could, considering the pillow was about as long as his whole torso. Derek piled up the supplies on the opposite side of the couch from where you were. Nicholas opened his arms wide to let his pillow drop to the floor in a soft puff. It made Derek chuckle proudly.
Okay.
I'm gonna put together the tent, Nicholas. George, do you want to help?
I'll help. I'm gonna put together the tent.
Thanks, Nicholas. Nicholas bounced around Derek in absolute eagerness. In the distance, George pushed away from the counter.
Yeah.
His expression was flat and wide-eyed, but there was a hopeful raise in his voice as he got up from the bar stool. I'm helping too. Let's do it. The declaration made you, Derek, Nicholas, and George get to work making heads and tails of the tent. Derek yanked open the clinched in top of the pack while he walked to the furthest spot in the living room. Everyone followed his lead. He pushed the semicircle blanket chair up against the edge of the counter wall so the tent could go there instead. Derek dumped the contents of the bag onto the cream rug. He leaned over one foot while kicking the other in the air to reach over and grab the instructions that fell out of the rest of the materials. I'll be right back. I gotta use bathroom. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that. I also had to check on making sure that if we got a package today yet, but we haven't. Probably come tomorrow. I'm expecting a DVD in the mail through coming from Amazon Prime. Anyway. Okay, yeah, we were at this part. He scanned over the steps briefly, but it was only a refresher. Derek was able to get right into the process. Nicholas was assigned pole control. He kept watch on the pile, not letting any roll away. and would pass the tent legs over when they were needed. Okay. Stretching the fabric out took the rest of you. You, George, and Derek each grabbed a side and tugged. Derek had to squeeze himself against the tall, pointed plant in the corner. He snickered at the way the leaves curled around his face. Despite that, you got the tent laid out across the ground. The first time Nicholas got to pass a pole, it slapped against the wall in the tiny space you were working in. George covered his ears and ducked. Derek snatched the end out of the air before it could do more damage. The little boy promised to be more careful. He got to keep his job and take it seriously. Piece by piece, the project slowly took shape onto it was finally complete. The small, light gray tent sat in its full form, nestled into the nook of the living room.
Good job, team.
All right, good job, everybody. As if he yelled into a cave, an echo of his words followed after. Good job. Nicholas threw his hands in the air with joy. George simply smiled, satisfied. Thanks for the help, everyone. Derek stuck his fists into his hips and gave the team an encouraging grin. Now we can actually do the indoor camping part of this living room. Camp out. Derek strolled up into the cabinet in the corner. He pulled open the translucent doors to fiddle around with something inside. A poppy tune blared out. He'd turn on a CD player. Nicholas leaped into the couch and swung his arms in the air to dance. George swayed his shoulders to bubblegum notes. Their big brother wasn't done yet. He made a beeline for the kitchen cupboard next. This time, the mood stutter Derek retrieved a pillow-sized bag of puffy marshmallows. Catch. That was only a warning before he sent the marshmallows sailing across the room in a perfect arc. George managed to snatch it from the air without a plumb. The top of the bag was twisted around the seal with a blue clip. The opened side was stretched from the process of twisting and untwisting repeatedly. It had been well appreciated so far. George undid the clip and set it aside on the coffee table. His tongue pressed against the corner of his lips as he dug his hand into the bag for just the right one. Nicholas tilted over the cushion into the bag to fill his tiny fist with 2 marshmallows. He crushed them between his fingers, the fluffy confection squeezing through the cracks. It really was a party. Derek put on his hands on the cupboard handle and shouted to you over the music. Do you like marshmallows? Yeah. I'd like one. You grabbed one for nibbling. It wasn't something you wanted to eat most days, but this night was the right time for marshmallows. The cupboard door swung closed and nothing was there to obstruct your view of the bright grin on his face anymore. He finally joined the rest of the base camp, which was the couch on at the moment. George, get me one of those too. Without even warning, George simply flicked a marshmallow at his brother, and same as before, Derek grabbed it in midair. He bit one piece out of the top of the edge, chewing thoughtfully. Excuse me.
Okay.
There's no TV while camping, so having a sleepover movie wouldn't make sense. With the swallow of a marshmallow and a snap of his fingers, Dirk emphatically declared a grand idea. We'll play an ad-lib game. I'll make up a story and the 3 of you can fill in some blanks to make it complete. George rolled a shoulder passively. He had finished his first treat and was poking around for another perfect selection. Okay. Nicholas smiled a big white smile, but it wasn't just pearly teeth. His entire mouth was full of marshmallow mush. You took that reaction as a yes. The little ones were bored. I'm up for that. Alright, let me think. We need a noun. A thing you can dry or write on. A shape, a color, a food, and drink. Nicholas gulped painfully, forcing down way too much marshmallow goop all at once. But he wouldn't let anyone beat him to the punch. A truck? Nicholas' eyes were wide. He was practically vibrating from the sugar high mixed with the chance to add a truck to the story. Dirk rubbed his back plastically. That's the ride, George. The middle child plucked at the frayed plastic edge of the marshmallow bag. It might have taken him longer to come up with something than the youngest, but he did contribute an idea. Blue? Cool. We got a color. Chippy? Let's see. For the food, it's. Type in the food. Okay. How about pizza? Yeah, there we go. Pizza. Gotcha. He shifted his focus back to the boys. Derek's expression and the entire way he carried himself was different when speaking to them. It reminded you of a teacher interacting with his students. George, Nicholas, give me some more words.
Oh.
Hexagon?
Nice!
Oh, good one. That's a shape. Apple juice?
Cool.
Perfect. There's a drink. Derek continued to warmly watch over his little siblings, but the words he spoke were for you. Chippy, you're giving us the last one. A noun. Yeah, the noun should be... Let's see. A noun would be person, place, a thing. We'll type in Derek. His expression somehow softened even more. Awesome. Derek pulled his chest back and folded his arms. He smirked, brows angled, and eyes squinted.
Alright.
I can now tell you the story of Baby Castle. Nicholas snapped his feet rapidly into the couch. He was absolutely squealing from the premise alone.
What?
Baby Castle? Yes, that's right. In a big open field, there was the stone fortress that was Baby Castle. Everyone who lived there was a little baby, but they didn't need any adults. Interesting. Their greatest treasure was a giant golden derrick at the center of the courtyard. They were always vigilant to protect it from the greedy hands of grown-ups. George snorted. His mouth and cheeks began to pull upwards. Then one day, someone came to the gates of the castle on their truck. It was a man, not a baby or even a kid. He had a hexagon-shaped head and a fancy top hat. Okay, interesting. He was knocking on the door, demanding to be let in. They were just babies and they needed supervision. It was a blue alert and the guards were rushing to their stations. The first line of defense was their pizza catapult. It was landed up and then fired. It was loaded up and then fired. Bullseye. The pizza knocked the top hat off his head, but the hexagon-faced man wasn't deterred. He used his giant grown-up legs to climb over the wall. There was panic in the castle. He had to be after their golden derrick. Derek shifted his weight from the foot to foot with precision. His hands had gone up in front of him with his palms facing forward. He looked like the goalie of a soccer game.
But
the babies weren't beaten yet. The squirt gun platoon lined up as soon as the adult stepped out of the other side. He was pelted with apple juice. He stumbled back and the gatekeepers opened up the door while he was blinded. He got pushed right out and back into his truck. The guards gave one more shove, and the man with his truck and without his hat slid down the hill and far away. The castle was saved. The babies and their derrick were still free. Hooray, the end. Interesting story. A matching pair of cheers filled the air. Nicholas and George were thrilled by the yarn Derek had spun for them. It honestly impressed you how well Derek could improvise. He was a guy of many talents. The living room campsite blew out, kept rolling from there. Derek turned the music up louder, making sure to skip any track that didn't fit the mood. George and Nicholas swung across the floor to dance. They threw marshmallows in the air and tried catching them with their mouths. And when that got old, they tried to see who could fit the most in their mouth at one time. Derek grooved to the beat and tapped his toes around the collected treats they missed. Picked up the pills they knocked to the floor and pat backs when their stuffed faces made them cough. But he wasn't only Mr. Responsible. Derek took his own shot at the marshmallow mouthful competition and blew his little brothers out of the water. You danced along with the boys. You shook it to the left and shimmied to the right. Nicholas took hold of your hand and wiggled your arms together. The chain was extended when Derek took George's hand and nudged him to take yours. You made a massive wave. It embedded through the whole group. As the night continued, Derek moved on from the party hotspot to chill out inside the tent. He was on his side, propped up by his elbow. It took a few minutes for Nicholas to notice his brother's disappearance from his sight lines. You knew the moment it happened, he'd been bounding from cushion to cushion on the couch, but it came to a firm stop, sticking his feet deep in place. A helpless pout flickered on Nicholas's face before it almost instantly curved into a sly grin. Nicholas knew where he could find his favorite person. He leaped the arm of the couch and landed at the entrance of the tent. From there, he sprung forward like a shot straight into Derek, shoving him over onto his back with an oof. Derek didn't get up. He flopped his arms out and laid motionless. 3, 2, 1. Derek was down for the count. Nicholas was the winner. Claiming his victory, Nicholas curled up on Derek's flattened chest. He'd tuckered himself out. Okay. He sat stretched out on the blanket inside the tent. Yeah, I think that's a good choice. George wondered over to sit down cross-legged. He had one shoulder in the tent, and the rest of him was out. Derek's eyes dropped closed, and he heaved a satisfied sigh.
Sheesh.
I'm too old to keep up with you, bros. You can party way too harder than me. He could still muster enough energy to move a hand over his brother's fluffy, marshmallow, speckled hair. The little boy snuggled his cheek into Derek's jersey even more. Still cross-legged, George took hold of his ankles and rocked himself gently back forward. The childlike position conflicted, now contemplative. His next words were,
I wonder what things will be like when we really are older.
I think that's what it contemplated, probably. I wonder what things will be like when we are older.
I wonder what things will be like when we really are older.
The brother with the most days behind him smiled softly while his eyes remained shut. That's easy. 10 years from now, I'm gonna be famous athlete. Nicholas will obviously be a cheer captain at my games. Derek earned a squealed giggle from Nicholas. He even kicked a leg out like a puppy who got a tummy scratch. George, you will be my career manager. George stopped his movement, sitting a little taller. A smile pulled at the edges of his mouth.
Obviously.
Chippy will be there too. That perked your own interest. Ooh, yes. Yeah. I think this is what we're gonna say. Yes. Mm-hmm. I'll be Derek's trophy husband. That got a blush out of him. Derek coughed intentionally as soon as you said your contribution to the master plan, but he rolled with it. Right. It's the best trophy I've ever won. Top of the shelf. Then his voice drifted off quietly. And the four of us would all be neighbors. Your heart skipped a beat. He wanted to live next to you. He wanted you to be part of his future. Derek, George, and Nicholas glanced at each of their faces and felt glad you got to be here. You went to different schools and lived in different towns, had different families, but sometimes you were able to share your worlds with each other. And maybe someday Derek's story would come true, and you'd be even closer. But that time wasn't now, and all too soon. The Sora's parents reappeared to take their younger children off to bed in their own room. Despite nearly being asleep already, Nicholas grasped Derek's shirt when his dad reached in to pick him up. Derek kept his one hand on Nicholas's head and pressed the other against the floor. Slowly shifted into a sitting position. Nicholas's voice, like grip, made it easy to do without either of them falling over. When he was upright, Derek collected his little brother in his arms, fully shifted out of the tent. This is pretty cool, huh, Nico? Usually I'm all the way in my room, but tomorrow all you have to do is open the door, look down the hall, and I'll be there. Derek whispered smoothly on the path to the back bedroom, putting to bed not just the delicate bundle he carried, but also the likely resistance the boy would have put up. George trailed behind his other brothers. He didn't need extra help, but Derek stood in place. He didn't move until the middle one could come up by his side. Altogether, the three Sura's sons went through the door. You waited in the living room quietly. Maybe a minute or two passed before Derek switched off with his parents. He came out empty-handed, and they went in. He took wide, tiptoeing steps over to the campsite. His sleeplessness from the before was wiped away by a second wind of excitement. Derek made it back to the tent and put a hand on his mouth, watching the hall like a hawk for any sign of his family.
It's all good.
We've got to change into our pajamas, but we don't have to go to sleep for real. You got to your feet, his eagerness rubbing off on you. The both of you quietly bustled between the bathroom, and living room, finishing all last-minute prep. Derek's parents lingered at the edge of the hallway until both of you and Derek were completely set. PJs on, teeth brushed, and the works. Good night, Derek and Chippy.
Good night.
Sleep well and enjoy the great outdoors of the living room. Night, Mom. Night, Dad. Good night. The Susurras hit the light, and the condo blinked into darkness. There were footsteps, silence, and the click of a door opening and shutting. I gotta use the bathroom again. Sorry about that. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. His parents had returned to their own bedroom, this time to turn in for the rest of the night. With opening and intermission over part 2 of Derek and Chippy at home venture out could begin. Derek went from sitting up to perfectly straight, ready for some non non-extant interview to dropping forward into his stomach. He squirmed around using his eyebrows, elbows. The effort fluttered the tent in blankets, making a soft crinkling sound. When he had positioned himself facing you, Derek rested his head against the top of his fist. Derek rested his head against the top of one fist. He grinned nearly. The rest of his family might have been right across the condo, but this was still the first chance to talk just between yourselves since the sleepover started. He'd been waiting for it. Hey, Chippy. His cheeks lifted high enough to push up the bottom of his eyes as he whispered, with a childlike sense of secret sharing.
So,
I was wondering if we were being completely serious, what would you want to be doing in the future? Do you have, or I don't know, a goal or a dream? Sorry about that. I'm going with the last one. My dream is exactly what you were saying before. I'm serious about that. That made Derek's eyes go wider. He rose off his hand, propped stand just a little, like he had been physically lifted up by growing hope. All right. Okay, like he had been physically lifted up by growing hope. Really? Really? Imagining you and all the Soros boys living in the same neighborhood and working together and on shared goals was truly perfect. You both relaxed more deeply into the soft bedding around you, likely both picturing the same image in your heads.
Wow.
That's really a nice dream. Derek contemptibly rolled over on his back. The arm that had held his chin up was now tucked under his head. For support there instead, his eyes never broke away from yours, despite flipping upside down. He could move as freely as he wanted and was taking full advantage of that. When his siblings were around, he had to work with 8 limbs and 2 heads thanks to Nicholas's initial attachment to him. And that got your train of thought fully on the track of siblings. You opened your mouth and said, yeah, I think, this would be the right one to say. I wish my older sibling was as nice as you are. Derek made a violent attempt to nod along from his lopsided position. Elizabeth isn't a super helpful role model. Sorry if that's mean. No, it's true. She's just an older jerk of a sister sometimes. That usually happens with some siblings. It's true. He covered his mouth with his face, with his free hand to keep his snickers from getting too loud. Huh. Yeah, how does it feel to be the eldest? Busy, I guess. Derek chuckled. It's kind of like a part-time job. I've got to look out for them. My parents aren't always making me do that, but I feel like I've always got to do it. That makes sense. Sorry. Don't be. It's all good. In the air, the near complete darkness had felt warm and comfortable, but the atmosphere began to change. It was too subtle to say exactly why, but enough for you to notice. Oh, Chippy? Derek reversed his position again, getting on his stomach. His arms were crossed over the floor in front of him. He rested his cheek down against them. Derek's eyes were on the ground too.
Was it annoying?
Would it be weird to ask if you're having fun? Yeah, I'm having fun. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's great. He clicked his heels together in a rhythm. Soft taps, wrestling of the blanket, one, then two, and three, in quick succession. And it repeated again. Derek mumbled into his forearm. I was just really hoping this would be a nice time. The pensive look on his face, the tension in his tone, and your heart pounding harder. Everything felt very serious.
Forget it.
It's nothing. The squeezing pain in your chest eased, though somehow it was more of a disappointment than a relief. But Derek spun up his palms, bringing his head up to your level and beaming directly at you. Have you ever watched anything cool recently? George and I have been showing Nicholas a lot of great stuff he couldn't see before because he was too little when they came out. He kicked the ball in the new direction and had too high of a defense for you to maneuver it back, but that was all right. You could talk to Derek about anything. You and Derek continued to bounce from topic to topic. You quietly spoke your thoughts into the air while hidden away from the rest of the world in your camp. It went on through the night until before you realized your eyes were opening to the morning sunlight. But there was no peace in Derek's household.
Whoa!
It's morning. After giving his war cry, Nicholas barreled from his room and catapulted himself into the tent. Derek wrestled with Nicholas on the blankets in a tickle fight. It was a memorable way to begin the day. For breakfast, there was a cupboard full of different cereals and instant oatmeal packets to choose from, plus fruits, berries, and nuts to top it with. if you wanted. Each bowl was prepared to its owner's specifications, either by themselves or by Miss Suarez, for those too little to reach everything. You got. Let's see what. Peach oatmeal is, for real, yeah, that's my favorite in real. So, yeah, we'll pick that. Peach oatmeal. And I get to add stuff to it. Okay. What should I add to it? Why don't we add strawberries? Yeah, let's add strawberries. I think that's enough. That was everything. You glanced down the hallway, expecting Derek's dad to come join the family soon, but Miss Suarez let you know how Mr. Suarez very sneakily went past you a couple hours ago when you were sleeping. Derek swallowed a spoonful of peach oatmeal with blueberries to note how his dad had to commute. Derek's mom nodded before moving the conversation forward. I'll take you home in the evening. The younger ones can stay with Mr. Suarez then. You'll have a peaceful ride. Your moms know it'll be a little late. We worked it out yesterday while you were packing. And I'll be out running errands until then. I will be bringing the kids. You two can enjoy your time however you choose. Oh, nice. Just me and Derek then.
Is that fine?
Yeah, sure. Derek stuck his spoon towards the ceiling and gave you a thumbs up from his bar stool. Yeah, that sounds good. Derek put his other fist on the counter. Double thumbs up. Soon you learned another thing about Derek's family. His dad commuted very, very early, and all hands were tasked with cleaning up, whether they were guests or not. The five of you made quick work of breakfast. Then Miss Suarez, with some more assistance from Derek, correlated George and Nicholas to the minivan to act as helpers during her daily task. George could properly fulfill that role, while Nicholas was more of an honorary helper who still needed more support than he gave. The title was still exciting enough for him to release Derek for 1 minute so he could be strapped into his car seat for the drive. From one job to another, you and Derek were left alone to put the living room back into its proper order. First, your belongings were collected and put aside to make sure nothing got mixed in with other supplies. The blankets were stuffed back into Derek's room and the spare closet. Any loose marshmallows that were discovered have to have escaped being devoured and ended up on the floor or thrown in the trash. Your campsite became a hollow shell of what it once was. It had ended so quickly, but a short adventure in the great outdoors of the Sura's living room was better than none. It was still a minor miracle that you got to come. You didn't forget that. Lastly, the two of you worked as a team to break down the tent itself. You slipped out each of the poles, retracted them to their smaller size, and began to get them packed away into a sturdy bag they came from the night before. While folding one of the legs, Derek lightheartedly chatted with you.
Oh man.
I'm so excited the whole day. We can do anything before you've got to go. Walk to the park, watch a movie, get food somewhere. If you were being entirely honest with yourself, the things he was suggesting and the way he said it almost made you think it was a date. But Derek certainly didn't claim it was. He hummed along with a bounce in his pose. He was having plenty of fun, just doing regular chores with you. The good mood was infectious. It's great. I was just thinking about how I was surprised my mom's let me come today. Sorry about that. Out of nowhere, Derek twitched like he was hit by a bolt. His hands flipped over protectively, and the pole fumbled out of his grasp. It clattered against the wooden floor. The sharp sound made Derek wince. He gave a meek apology while the leg rolled back against his sneaker just as pitifully. Sorry. Derek bent his knees and gripped at his shirt's edge on the way down before he reached out and picked up what he dropped. What were you saying? That was pretty off. You didn't miss a blurring sign, complete with warning sounds that something was up, but he obviously wasn't comfortable, so you tried to let it go. I was just talking about my moms. Usually they're really strict about sleepovers. I can't do it out of nowhere. It's a planned thing. Having it to be a camp out in the living room must have helped a lot. You gave a bit of a shrug and scanned around for another piece to put away. We got lucky. Oh yeah, that makes sense. They are like that. Derek fiddled uselessly with the dark gray rubber foot at the end of the pole. He was pretending to keep busy. You wondered if he remembered what the two of you were supposed to be busy with. Sorry about my allergies being a disruption of the trying to do this. Drink some. All right. Damn. It wasn't going away, whether you ignored it or not. Did you think they didn't like you, or that it meant something else? I'll be right back. Sorry about that. I'm back.
No.
No, forget it. It's dumb, and it doesn't matter. He threw the words at you. It was final the way harsher than you expected from Derek. The sharp edge of it wasn't for you. That part was directed towards himself. You never stepped over at his house before. That been your guess for why it must have been a little awkward. There was clearly more to it. You frowned. It's not dumb. I'm sure of it. His brows angled at the same time. A tight bend formed in the tent leg. The way he twisted it between his hands was too much for the thin piece of pole. He didn't say a word. You can always talk to me about anything, you know. You spoke comfortably. He sealed his eyes tight and dropped the leg on purpose this time. Despite all the effort it took him to ask you to come in the first place, that peeled in the comparison to this. Suddenly it seemed like he wished you were anywhere but right there. I can't tell you. Why not? Derek's voice was impotent whisper. You'll think I'm the most annoying guy in the world. I am the most annoying guy in the world. Yeah. Okay. It was such a bad idea. It was sneaky and judgy. I shouldn't have bugged you, but I already did. It's too late. Derek's posture pulled closer and closer together as he spoke. His fists tapped against the front of his chest. His knees bent forward inward. The pressure building inside was exerting a real force on him. What if you don't want to be friends anymore? Oh, come on, really? That's not going to happen. The last part almost disappeared before you had the chance to hear it. He looked small and lost. Yeah, it's exactly what I was going to say. That's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. The tension kept compounding, causing cracks where more words could slip through. Yeah, that's never going to happen.
Well,
I had a reason why I invited you when I did. Why it needed to be now. Yes? Even though his eyes cracked open, Derek wasn't looking at you, but finally he sucked in a breath and took the plunge. Chippy, today is Father's Day. So... Your jaw dropped. Huh. You knew what day it was, but couldn't have guessed that was Derek's motivation. You could put it together immediately, and though you were still stunned, you could put it into words. You thought I was gonna be sad because it's Father's Day, and I don't have a dad? Derek lowered his head and pressed his shoulders up to his ears, trying to hide from the sound of it. Well, I was thinking for sure that you'd be sad. I didn't know how you were going to feel about any of it, and that's what was chewing at me. Derek poured out words one after another, trying to explain himself and the conflicting feelings he had bottled up the entire time. The floodgates had been opened. It's not like I was around last year when this happened. I couldn't help wondering if it was a normal thing, or a good time, or a low point, or whatever. But I don't live in Sunset Bird. I can't walk on the other. Yeah, I can't walk on over like it's nothing to check, and I had to come up with some other dumb way to be around. Derek's speaking pace slowed, but his blinks picked up speed. His rapid flow of words went from explanation to admonishment. It was enough for him to choke on. But that's stupid, because if you actually wanted me to answer, wanted me to be anywhere near you today, you could have asked yourself. And your moms are great. Better than most dads, and you've got Elizabeth too.
Sorry.
I should have made a whole. I should have made a big thing out of it because I made stuff up in my head. I'm sorry. I am really sorry. And then it went bone dry until silence. Derek dropped his arms into his sides in defeat. He could only look at you out of the corner of his eyes. He was such a sweet guy. Okay. Yeah, I think that's. Yeah, I'm gonna give him a hug. You hugged him. It just happened instinctively. You wrapped your arms around his shoulders. Derek's caution turned into confusion. Chippy? His breath tickled your neck. After an extra squeeze, you let him go. I want to say this. You're really cute, Derek. Really? Of course. You're not gonna tell me to call your moms and come get you and walk out the door and never talk to me again. Of course not. That's what you thought was gonna happen? No way.
Maybe?
I figured you'd at least say I'm a pain. No, you're not. Jeez. Well, I'm not gonna do that. Of course not. Derek crumbled over, grabbing his hands against his legs and releasing a massive sigh, like he'd finish a marathon. Wow, okay. I'm sorry still. I should have asked you instead of creepily making you come to my house so I could watch and see if maybe I could figure it out without having a normal conversation. Yeah, that's also a good option. The emotional exhaustion from carrying that stress on his back really had taken its toll. Derek crouched, completely plopped in, onto the floor. You eased down to sit next to him. He tucked his legs up against his chest and tapped the top of his knees shyly. He was the last kid waiting to be picked for a team on the playground, and you were the captain who included him. Would you want to talk now? I think that'd be good. A ghost of a smile appeared on Derek's face. It didn't compare to the ear-to-ear grin you were used to, but it was enough to make everything feel a little more normal, a little more right. There. Yeah. Ah. Huh. But I'm sure to think about it. I'm gonna go with the last one. I have two moms, so why would I care if I had a I mean, it's obviously I don't have a father, so why would I have to be sad about it? I mean, the two moms adopted me. I mean, the main character, of course. So it's pretty cool. Even if you have two moms, or even two fathers, that would, you know, it's still cool. It doesn't have to be like everybody else's family. But I think it's a normal and a good thing. I could tell. Okay, yeah, I could tell by all the ads that Father's Day was probably today. I didn't care though. We don't celebrate Father's Day. It's never been a thing in my family. Derek nodded quietly in understanding. It's nice that you cared, though. I know I have someone who really worries about me, and that's pretty special. Derek's face shifted to the side, but not enough for you to miss the redness tinting his cheeks. Thanks, Chippy. Derek waited there on the floor, silently, still curled up in a ball. If there was more you needed to tell him, he wasn't going to miss it. Huh. I'm gonna go with this one. I'm glad I have two moms. I love them. Why is my phone going off? I thought I had it turned off. Beep 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 beep. The sound's off, so I don't know why.
I get it.
Definitely, I get that. They're really cool. I mean, they're really good. That was an understatement. Your moms were some of the best people in the whole world. Mentioning them took you right back to the fun times you had with your family. My moms are happy sharing Mother's Day with each other for the parent-based holiday. Though one time Mom joked about how they could switch off. One could have the actual Mother's Day to herself, and the other could make Father's Day be the other Mother's Day. Despite Derek's lingering awkwardness, Mom's joke still pulled some snickers from him. She would have been thrilled to know that. That's compromise? Yeah, that's compromise. Mom is so funny. Totally. But that's why we've never done anything for today. What is it like having a dad? Is it different to how it's like with your mom?
Oh!
His parents weren't here, but his gaze automatically went to the hall that led to Mr. and Mrs. Harris' room. You had no idea what was on his mind, so you needed to wait for him to say it. Derek ultimately shrugged one shoulder and tilted his head back to you. It's kind of different. My mom is really a mom, and my dad's a dad. Oh yeah, no, that all makes sense. Sorry. He scratched at his ear. Derek heard the way his own words sounded just as well as you did. I think what I mean is, like, Mom is nice because she loves me and I love her, and it's great. We can just be together, and it's like I don't have to grow up so fast. It's okay the way it is. That's not exactly how it is with Dad. Because I want to be like my dad, and I'm not.
Mm.
I want to get mature and responsible and do more. I don't feel like I'm good enough when I've gotta compare myself to him. Derek blinked. He caught himself losing track of the topic. It was going where it wasn't supposed to be, and Derek put a stop to it. But it's not bad. It isn't like he's trying to make me feel that way. He pushed a couple of inches off the ground using his heels and tipped back a bit. Then he fell into place again. Her neck looked like a tiny rocking horse. A slight grin cracked open between his lips as he swayed. And I bet a lot of kids don't have that kind of thing about their dad. They want to be like their mom or both their moms. I think you're already good. Thanks, Chippy. I think then you smiled. Yeah, then you smiled. Derek's words then slowed and stumbled. He squinted his eyes as if looking at you was blinding. It was the way he spoke when he forced himself to confess something he wasn't planning on admitting. Also, well, Chippy, since we're talking about mom and dad, I want to tell you they kind of do kind of know why I wanted you to come over. I didn't tell them exactly, but yesterday they somehow figured out I was worried before I could do something to stop it. They put it all together. I don't know how parents do that. They wanted to help you if you needed it, but they didn't have any idea that I was just being nosy, and you didn't give me any real reason to worry. I understand. It's hard to pretend something is nothing when it's not, and it was really important to you. It was, for sure. Thanks. I hope doing this didn't ruin your own Father's Day celebration.
No way!
Cool. He he stepped upon, palm against the hardwood floor. That made the outburst even more startling. Derek stared at you with complete seriousness. All he'd want is getting a card sometime, and my bros might get him little kid kinds of gifts, a flower from the park, or a Lego guy, or something. You being here is for sure not going to read it. Don't worry about that. Eleanor wants to party all day on birthdays, but you could still come to those anyway. That's good. Nothing would have made you feel worse than having Derek throw away his and his family's celebration to try and give you one. But it was easy to believe that he said he wasn't placing he wasn't placing you. Derek wasn't a liar, even if sometimes he didn't tell you every thought and feeling in his head. Okay. You didn't say anything else. Your thoughts drifted away from Derek, and even from you. They floated across the condo, out the window, and off into the vast summer sky. As the silence settled between you, Derek plucked at his shoelace and chewed on the inside of his cheek uncomfortably. When he felt the need to fix everything or make it all better, it was a major hitch when it was not your problem to solve. The air conditioner whirled in the background. Through your fuzzy feeling mind's eye, you could picture your mom's and your big sister. Then your brain and your body suddenly snapped together in full focus. Wait, what about Elizabeth? The mention of her name got the same instant reaction from Derek that you just experienced. His eyebrows lifted and his mouth opened soundly in a small O. She acts like she's over everything, but I remember back when we were little kids, she would get mad on Father's Day. Maybe that's why she was so aggressive yesterday. She didn't have friends who were coming over or anything, and Mom's had work, and now I'm gone too. Derek looked hard at the front door. Was he expecting her to walk through it, or was he planning on running over to Sunset Bird to check? You had no idea.
Shoot.
I thought there might have been a chance of that. I don't think she would be bothered by just being there by herself. I don't think so. I don't think it would upset her. I don't think that's something that would upset her. Let's see. Where's the out here? Yeah, I'm gonna go with the last one. You shrugged it off. It was her problem. If there even was a problem, which I don't think there would be. Hey, we could call her. I'll do it if you feel weird about it. You'd actually do that? Definitely. Here I go to the phone. Alright. Derek furled himself, got off the floor, and trotted into the hallway with purpose. Mailed it right there in the living room, narrowed into a hallway. Set against the front wall was an off-white telephone. The phone at your house was wireless. Derek's had a elastic loop line that kept the receiver from going more than a couple feet away from its base. Vision of Nicholas's launching a cordless phone into the air purely for his own entertainment made their way across your mind. The option the Sarahs went with was one of the most practical for their family. I gotta turn the air off. It's getting too cold here. Yeah, it's better. Your sibling, however, would throw a fit if she couldn't chat with her gal pals in private. Elizabeth, you wondered what she was thinking about right now. Pull my nose again. There. Ah. We gotta go rest after we get way back. phones, really old phones. But you wouldn't have imagined for longer. Derek didn't waste any time punching in your number. He had it memorized. Yeah, kind of reminds me of a phone that my parents used to have. I don't know if it was similar to this, but it might have been kind of, I think. The only phones we have around the house nowadays is just our cell phones. Everybody in the house has their own cell phone. We don't have an actual landline, so. There had been many times in the past Derek used to use that very device to call your house so the two of you could chat about your lives and make plans and whatever else. You'd ended up on the other side of things and for once got to watch him go through each of the motions. He used to connect with the Prince home. Oh, he used to connect with the Prince home. Okay. He stood with his back perfectly straight, pressed the phone to his ear as he waited for the solitary person miles away from where he was who could answer on the other end. Awkward seconds tick by one at a time. You could vaguely hear the ringing coming from the receiver bouncing off the hall wall. But then a wide, eager smile pulled away all the way across Derek's face. She had picked up the phone. "Hey, Elizabeth, it's Derek Suarez. Chippy is here at my house." As chipper and polite as Derek tried to be, there was an obvious strain in his voice. He tucked a finger through one of the rubber-coated loops and twisted the stretchy phone line over and under until it wrapped all the way from his waist up to the tip of his head. Did he do that when he was talking to you?
What's up?
I was wondering how things were over there. You silently attempted to fill in the other half of the conversation based on how he was reacting and what you knew about your sister. She definitely asked what on earth he was calling her for. No. It immediately got harder to grasp the context. Elizabeth probably lobbied another question, but it could have been anything from "Is Chippy dead?" to "Did you have a nice sleepover?" Wink, wink. Derek's wide, panicked eyes gave you the impression it wasn't going well, whatever it was. The words on the tip of his tongue were swallowed like a bitter pill. He grimaced at the wall in front of his face and did nothing else. Derek, what happened? Derek sighed deeply and clicked the receiver into the base with a limp wristed nudge. He directed an impressive, unimpressed stare at the phone. Unfortunately for him, Derek couldn't send that look over the phone line, even if it had been dropped. When Derek turned to face you directly, he fought against his defeated appearance with falsely casual shrug. She hung up. Yeah, that's our sister. Weird and just, I don't know. She just has her own thing. Whatever. That's not a surprise. She was annoyed. It was you calling her, right? It didn't help, but she sounded pretty bothered before I even said anything. Basically, she told me that unless the police, firefighters, or an ambulance or your mom's needed her, then I should tell you to talk to her when you were home.
I don't know.
And that she didn't want to tell me anything. Okay. Oh. A crease began to form from your forehead. Your sister wasn't happy, and you couldn't shake the horrible feeling that it wasn't just her usual bad attitude. Yeah, that's the way she is. She has a bad attitude. The hall felt cramped, and you were suddenly uncomfortable being surrounded by these walls. Derek watched you helplessly, his fingers tense, clenching, and splaying again. A moment passed, then he let out a heavy breath. He wasn't powerless anymore.
I've got a plan.
I have a plan. You do? Derek sprinted through the living room area and into his bedroom. The clatter of doors opening, papers flying, came through his open door. You slowly stepped to the edge of the wall to try to glimpse what was happening on the other side of the condo. He soon came bounding out again, clearly successful at something. Derek tossed a stack of colorful folded pamphlets across the surface of the coffee table. You jogged over to meet him there. You couldn't tell what they were from a distance. Let's bring the party to Elizabeth. Why? She's not gonna like two 13-year-olds. I mean, she's older and she don't want. I don't know. I don't know how she's gonna react to that. I mean, she always has an attitude, so I don't know. These are the bus schedules and stuff. I've only got to look at what the times are. and we can leave. How do you think of that so fast? He chuckled mischievously. You know what I say? It's good to be prepared. And I did wonder about about this kind of thing before. I can't drive, but what if there was an accident or other emergency or whatever, and I needed to be someplace right away? I already knew a lot of public transportation stuff because of that. Derek began to shuffle the papers around and flashed you a bright grin.
Aha!
But I don't think I'd be pulling this out so I could see Elizabeth of all people. Derek laughed lightheartedly over the joke. The words didn't feel very breezy to you. That was because if he was honest, it wasn't about your sister. He'd spent time studying ways to get to Sunset Bird for his friends, for Cove, and for you. With you and him living away from each other, not going to the same school, sometimes it seemed like maybe you stopped being a piece of his life once left your town. Let's get something? No. Okay. This proved you definitely didn't disappear for Derek. He cared about you even when you weren't there, and you could count on him even more than you had known. While you were stuck inside your own head, Derek had his nose in the brochures. He pressed his palms on the table, fervently scanned the timetables and rambled more about his scheme. There isn't a direct line to Sunset Bird. It's kind of a small place. We can take a bus to a rail station and get a smaller shuttle for tourists. Derek's hands lifted and then hit smooth surface under him, making a solid smack noise. He was done searching. His gaze flicked up to your face. Is that okay? Are we seriously gonna do this? I'm as serious as you are. His absolute conviction was enough to convince you. You nodded. We can leave a note for Mom about what happened, or... Derek packed up the pamphlets, sticking them in the crook of his arm. He twisted his head behind him, but whispered to you covertly over his shoulder. If it makes you feel better, we might be able to get back before she even knows. What do you want to do, Derek? They're your parents.
I guess.
Sure, but I'm the one who made this a problem. That's not the point. I want to know what you think. I tell them they won't get mad at us for sure. Okay. We'll leave a note. Thanks, Chippy. 1 sec. Derek dashed to the back room with all the bus schedules in his arms. He shoved them into something, then ran out to rejoin you at the front of the condo with a bag shrugged over his shoulder. Next, he went into the kitchen to grab a notepad and pen from the counter. He hopped up to his tiptoes to lean over it and scribbled a few rows of explanation on the paper. He jaggled the button to react to the pen nib with his thumb to set it down alongside the note.
Let's go.
Let's do it. Right. You scooped up your own backpack and the two of you locked the now empty apartment behind you. At the brisk pace, Derek led the way out of the condo complex down the city sidewalks. You had to weave through crowds of people making their own way across town. Most of them were much older and taller than you were. Between the mass of strangers and immense skyscrapers bearing down on you from all sides, you felt like a very small part of a far bigger world. You took Derek's hand. He wrapped his own fingers around yours and held tight. That gave you the reassurance you hoped it would. You were in this together. You pushed forward until you reached the nearest bus stop. A group had already gathered in the same spot for the same purpose. Derek didn't fight to reach the front of the pack. He kept to the fringes. You waited for anywhere from 5 to 50 minutes. It was pretty impossible to track time accurately when you felt every single sluggish second hit you like a brick. No matter how long it actually was, it was enough time to think. A part of you had felt as though you couldn't possibly seriously get on a bus and go back to Sunset Bird without any of your parents. That just wouldn't happen. That was probably why you went along with Derek's impulse as quickly as the idea had struck him. But reality hit you like a bus when an actual bus turned the corner and came your way. You gave Derek's hand another squeeze, and he responded by tugging you a little bit closer to him. The massive vehicle hit its brakes and slowed to a halt. The doors opened to let out those who'd arrived at their destination and accept new riders. The crowd jolted together and filtered through from the door. You and Derek went in at the tail end of the group. You had enough change in your pocket to pay the fare. Derek flashed a bus pass for his entry. The city bus was as overflowing with people as the streets were. You had to shuffle while turned to your side to get through the aisle without knocking into the arms or legs of the other passengers. There was barely enough space to breathe. Summer days had never been more miserable. You couldn't even find seats that were side by side. Instead, you had to settle for 2 aisle seats that were across the way in one row diagonal from each other. That meant you had to let go of Derek, which was the worst of it all. The automatic door quickly swung closed. You rocked as the wheels began to turn. You relaxed the best as you could. You'd already committed to going along for the ride. Derek didn't attempt to start a conversation. Not that he really could in the hectic space with the distance between you. He'd become completely focused on watching for your stop. He had a destination he needed to get you to, and he was going to do it no matter what. More stops passed until eventually Derek leaned his chest over to the open space to send a quick message. His tone was briefly like a whisper, but way too loud to really be whispering. This is it. He shifted upright, immediately tugged the bell, marking this as a stop for the driver. As soon as the bus came to a cautious halt along the edge of the curb, Once the full stop, the doors popped open. You repeated the awkward shimmy through the aisle so you could exit. This look more like a passenger bus stop, whatever, like a Greyhound or something like that. When your feet landed on the cracked ground, you exhaled in satisfaction. You made it. This is really good. On Derek's first step into the station, he pulled one of the brochures out of his pocket and flipped it open. He must have kept that single pamphlet with the necessary details when packing the rest of the collection away. Derek was prepared as always. He held it up to his face, mapping out the station and using the guide like a treasure hunter. You wandered around the wide open floor plan, searching up and down for the section where shuttles would load passengers. You were the first to spot one vehicle headed towards a tiny tourist town. It made you stop in place. Derek. Yeah. At the sound of his name, he lifted his face up above the station map and saw what you saw. Oh. The shuttle was barely 1/4 size of the bus. It was a glorified van. You only recognized it for what it was thanks to the unusual pale orange paint job and also the word shuttle painted in blue across the doors. He tucked the bus schedule pamphlet into his back pocket and gave you a thumbs up. Derek bought tickets at a nearby customer service counter. There was no hovering the possibility of you buying your own ticket or paying for both. That wasn't a hill to die on today. Then you were ready for another ride. You poked your head inside the cabin. Only a handful of other travelers were nestled between the 4 rows of seats. From the seat cushions to the smell, the shuttle was immensely more agreeable than the bus. You were able to get spots side by side this time. Derek, though, wasn't any more of a mood to talk. The physical atmosphere must have improved, but the discomfort he felt on the inside was still eating at him. You could only sit in silence. For all the gnawing tension, you did make it. The shuttle inevitably came to its stop in a Sunset Bird parking lot. The car was switched off and the driver gave permission for guests to leave. Oh yeah, I remember this parking lot. It keeps showing up every time. It kept showing up every time we went somewhere with Cove. Saying it's the same parking lot too. It always ended up the same parking lot. Exactly like this. While the other riders leisurely shuffled around bags set by their feet and readjusted their hats, you and Derek hopped right off into freedom. Derek took a couple of stumbling steps after his leap from the car and then stood in place. You watched your next move, counting on your guidance to finish the journey. It was time to switch roles. Sunsetberg was your turf, not his. He spun in a single circle, scanning the area for clues as to which of the multiple big flat, mostly empty parking lots you'd landed in. When you swung back around, you got a glimpse behind the shuttle and spotted the corner of the grocery store. You could have been closer to home. My neighborhood isn't that far from here. This way. You stuck your arm out with a finger pointed directly towards the main street that you were positive was through the distant row of bushes.
Nice!
Awesome. Nice work, Chippy. He made a break for it and launched across the blacktop. You ran with him. There was no time to lose. Derek was so fixated he might accidentally leave you in the dust if you didn't push yourself. You flew out of the parking lot and dashed down the sidewalk you'd seen a million times before from where it was turned into a residential area. Before you knew it, you arrived at the top of the hill on your street. You were so close. The decline of the road propelled your steps even faster. Derek almost crashed into you when you both dove towards the entryway of your house. You caught yourself by bracing your hands against the front door. It took a second for you to separate your stinging palms from the wood so you could get your key out. But you got it in the lock, turned the key, and pulled. Finally, huffing and puffing, you stumbled inside. You were home. After everything, you almost didn't know what expect when you laid your eyes on the scene. But it was your living room, exactly as it was every day of your life. Not a thing was out of place. The low hum of the fridge was the only sound. Elizabeth clearly hadn't torn the house apart. Feel like she would do something like that. More likely, she's just sitting in her, probably laying in her bed in her room, probably listening to music or something. Who knows? Anyway, Elizabeth clearly hadn't torn the house apart in emotional rampage, although you didn't know what her own room looked like. Chippy? You snapped your head to the sound, and there she was, standing on the first step of the stairs, Elizabeth. Her mouth remained open despite not saying anything else. An eyebrow was arched high on her forehead. Hi. Hi, wait. Is that why you were calling? to tell me you were coming back way early? Well, not really. I mean, you all thought that you might have felt lonely or something, like you needed company. Not like you would care because we're younger kids, anyway. Whoa. Whoa, okay. Not that. You explained everything directly. There was no point in beating around the bush. Not after how much you went through to do what you did. Me and Derek wanted to see if you were okay because you were alone here on Father's Day. She probably thinks it's funny, you know. She let out a single derived bark of laughter. It was more threatening to spill out. It wasn't the worst reaction you could have gotten, all things considered. How did you even come up? How did that even come up? The tip of Derek's foot scuffled the wooden floor. Ma kept sparkling clean. He meekly confessed his part in the debacle.
Well,
I wanted Chippy to spend the night at my place so I could make sure he wasn't sad or something. That's what I was hoping for anyway, but it wasn't a great plan. He couldn't help sneaking a shy glance at you. The mocking humor that colored her face was wiped away in an absolutely deadpan way. She said 2 words.
Oh.
That's adorable. That was enough to end the conversation. Derek had no comeback, and your sister simply stared blankly. Okay. Come on, how are you really doing, Elizabeth? Seriously uncomfortable 3-way staring contest commenced. You kept your focus locked on your sister. She did the same to you. Derek flopped between Elizabeth and you. Then Elizabeth caved. She pinched the bridge of her nose and groaned dramatically.
Ah.
Fine, you kids win. Today was annoying. Not because I care that I only get to have 2 moms and can't celebrate Daddy Day. It's because every year everybody else is busy and I'm stuck doing nothing. Well, that's kind of what we thought. That's why we kind of decided to come back here, right? So that you wouldn't be all by yourself, at least. You'd have some company, at least. And so, no, I wasn't in a sunshine and rainbows kind of mood. It didn't help that you ended up getting off the boat either. And then he called me. She whipped an accusatory finger right at Derek's chest.
Rude?
This guy was able to throw you a party out of nowhere and decided while doing that to give me a ring while I was stuck in the house like a loser. Rude. That's why I hung up. Her smirk returned much more earnest than before. I didn't think you were going to race across the city to come keep me company. Well, yeah, that was the thought. That kind of affectionate teasing from your only older sister warmed your heart. It was special, and all of the discomfort was worth it. You could already tell today would be something to laugh about for years to come. Derek remained serious. He blinked in rapid succession and mustered up the will to continue with his regretful appeal. Elizabeth, I'm really sorry for not thinking about this more. Elizabeth cut that right off. She switched her hand in front of her face, trying to physically bat away Derek's sentiment.
No.
Dubby, please, save your energy. She settled the tips of her fingers against the center of her forehead, her other hand resting on her hip that she jolted out to the side. It's not your job to babysit me. You're not my big brother, and I'm not the one you like. Elizabeth was as sassy as ever, and Derek's overly self-reflective maturity seemed childish when cast in the light. A dark red blush grew across Derek's cheeks, but he smiled. It was a good reminder that he demanded a lot more from himself than others did. As if for the first time your sister appraised you, and Derek hobbled together sweetly and frumply from the sweaty frumply from the journey. Oh dear. Where are my manners? I've got guests and haven't even offered them a drink. She shrunk one arm while shushing over to the kitchen and opening the fridge. Not over politely, Elizabeth shouted out while sticking her head into the chilled shelves. What do you want?
Thanks.
Just water, please. Thanks. I'll take a cola. Yeah, no, I'll take water. Yeah, water for me too.
Uh-huh.
2 waters. She set 2 bottles of water on the counter when her hands were free. She reached back into the fridge and snagged a carton of tropical juice as well as a glass for herself. Elizabeth poured a glass of juice for herself. One more time, Elizabeth, the demure hostess she was, shouted at you from the kitchen. Come and get it. She punished. I don't know. I can't pronounce that word. The statement by bumping the fridge shut with her hip. Then she walked back to the living room, taking a sip of her juice. Derek took it upon himself to pick up both of your drinks. He went straight to the kitchen, grabbed the drinks, then returned to offer yours. You accepted it from him. Thanks. It made your sister snicker over the rim of her glass. Her gaze stayed on you while she lowered herself slowly down to sit on the floor. You shared a quick look with Derek, but ultimately joined your sister on the ground. The 3 of you arranged yourselves in a small circle shape, each with your little drink in hand. It almost felt like being a kid in kindergarten again. Elizabeth lifted a cup over the center of the group.
Come on.
This is a auspicious occasion. Cheers to us. As sarcastic as her tone was, the fun she was having was genuine. Happy other Mother's Day. Cheers. He thrusted his own drink out in celebration before bringing it back towards his chest. He twisted off the cap of the water bottle and gulped down about half of it in one go. Derek idly wet his mouth when Elizabeth asked a flat question. How did you actually get here? Is Miss Sarah's idling her minivan out there? Derek's reply was perfectly cheery. After the long way there, his spark was finally coming back.
Nope.
No, we took a bus. A bus? And a shuttle. None of the buses go right into Sunset bird, but we made it. Well, obviously, you can see that.
Okay.
Okay, another question. Are you gonna be completely grounded for this? We left a note for my mom. She'll understand. This was an emergency. This was an emergency, or it could have been one. Huh? We were on a mission. Elizabeth rested her eyes shut and took another long sip of juice. I won't tell our moms. Thanks. That's cool of you. Would you want to hang out for a little while? How? We can't go anywhere. Derek jumped right on board with that idea. He had an answer for almost any problem. We'll play a board game. It'd be fun, and we've got a little time.
Yeah.
I'll do it. Me too.
Okay.
Alright. The three of you agreed on a classic game and did one round. Soon, stacks of fake money and tiny figures and tokens were scattered around the living room while each of you fought for financial supremacy. Elizabeth shifted to lay on her stomach, and Derek sat up, vigilant for anyone who tried to cheat the system. You really felt like a kid again. Must be playing Monopoly or something. I don't know. The game eventually got so out of hand, it was mutually decided to be a three-way tie. It was a nice time. When it was really over, Elizabeth spoke up. All right, you've gotta go. She stretched her legs and arms spreading out wide. Being bored all day is going to be the least of our worries. If moms come in and you've magically appeared in the living room. Yeah, it's time to leave, thanks. Her eyes narrowed, looking between you and Derek. Enjoy what's left of your little sleepover. Derek's mouth dropped open fruitlessly. When he closed it again, he didn't know what to say to that. Finally, he waved, chirped out, generic farewell. Bye, Elizabeth. See you around. Elizabeth folded her arms and rolled her eyes. Stage announced to announced she couldn't take the smile off her face.
Goodbye.
With your mission accomplished, the two of you returned to the wide open world. Returning to the parking lot as a far more leisurely trip than arrival had been, there was time for you. There was time before it take off again. You drifted ahead like a lazy white clouds lazy white clouds above you. The fluffiness of them made you think of marshmallows. The pale orange 12 sweater came into sight. A sweeter 12 seater came into sight, parked at the far edge of the lot. You and Derek got your tickets to ride and hopped on. A few scattered tourists in their sun hats, floral patterned shorts were seated throughout the cabin. The small number of people in the space still felt cramped because of limited room in the car. You still smell their sunscreen in the air. In a slow curving motion, the shuttle pulled out. Derek sat rigidly, silently tapped his pointer fingers against the top of his knees and for the entire trip. No words were engaged by anyone except a few rules and updates mumbled out by the driver. People were tired from their own long adventures out in the world. You can only imagine what the strangers sharing the shuttle had been through while barely audible autistic guitar tracks played on the radio. Eventually the shuttle arrived. Each person went their separate ways except for you and Derek, who stayed by one another's side as a pair. He navigated the station with maps, and he had kept tucked in his back pocket as a guide. And finally, you sat down in deep blue, well-worn fabric of a city bus seat for the last ride. When the bus pulled out this time, Derek wiped his brow with his wristband. You made it back to Derek's city. No motoring calls would have to be made from the overpriced bus stop. Pay phone to beg one of your parents to come get you. Derek slipped lower in his seat and stretched his legs out in the aisle. The bus wasn't even half full, so making a little extra room for himself wasn't getting in anyone's way this time. On the outside, the sun was still dipping under the horizon, giving the air relief from its sweltering heat. It all came together to make the metal tube of public transportation less suffocating, totally incomparable to the experience you had at the height of the afternoon. No, it was safe to relax. Yeah.
Phew.
Good job, us. He chirped with a mixture of relief and fulfillment, like you just had an 8-hour shift at a serious adult company. It was an honest day's work. I really appreciate all of this, you know. Derek made a big show of sweltering his hand nonchalantly, which pretty much completely precluded it from being a casual gesture. The grin on his face couldn't even pretend to be unaffiliated. He was thrilled.
I try.
No worries. Chippy, siblings, look out for siblings. And he looked directly at you. Friends look out for friends. I know that I can count on you to help me out with the bros when I need it. Right. I'm here for you too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're my guy. You rested your hand against Derek. Gently, you shifted over to let the side of your face nestle against your seat neighbor. Derek's eyes fluttered, closed with a sweet sigh. You were snuggled in for the final leg of the journey, and all you had to do was wait. There was a soft vibration in the back of the bus. It slowly went up your spine and all the way down the tips of your toes during the ride, for the sensation had frayed at your nerves. Now it was soothing. With every stop that passed, your eyelids grew heavier. If yours wasn't just the fourth one down the line, you might have fallen asleep. You and Derek were the only ones who got off at that point. The two of you hopped from the front door of the bus onto the sidewalk. Derek leisurely retraced the familiar path you had gone on with him, marching step by step, step for step. Excuse me. It was peaceful, and with how close you had been to dozing off, it almost felt like walking through a dream. Finally, you arrived at the Suarez condo. After a long, eventful afternoon anyway, you may not have lived there, but seeing that door made you feel welcomed and safe. Derek clicked his key into his slot and pulled the handle forward. All traces of sleepiness had lingered in your eyes were instantly wiped away. Derek unavoidably tripped the wire on the mini mini explosion. No. Tripped the wire on a mini explosion. Huh. Oh.
Derek's back!
Oh. That. Yeah, okay. The condo wasn't nearly as empty as it was when you left. The whole rest of the family had arrived before you. They were gathered together on the couch and bar stools, except for Nicholas, who had jumped to his feet to launch himself at his brother. His short arms circled around Derek's legs. It was an interaction that had happened dozens, maybe even hundreds of times before. That was a hallmark of their own unique sibling relationship. Derek fulfilled his part of the tradition and stroked Nicholas's hair at the same time. He offered the rest of the family a laid-back greeting. Hey.
Good evening.
Good evening to you both. Hi.
Welcome.
Welcome back. There was a knowing little of her tone and a crook in her smile. Did you have a good trip? Clenched secretly between her fingers was a piece of paper you didn't have to think too hard to guess. It was the note you'd left explaining what happened.
What a day.
Yes, what a day. It's best you were able to spend time with your family. His parents were both perfectly contented. You had their full support for going on an adventure. Derek wasn't wrong. His parents weren't mad at you. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad. It was good. Derek gratefully replied to his parents, all the while speaking a warm gaze at you. I'm glad I got to see Elizabeth, even though she can be annoying sometimes.
Wonderful.
Nicholas simply held tight to Derek's jeans the entire time. Happy he was there and totally unaware of what older people were talking about. George stood in between his parents with his arms pressed to his sides. He had been listening with amusement, his thin eyebrows pinched and his lips pursed.
Now what?
Miss Suarez snickered cheerfully, resting her actual cheek against Mr. Suarez.
I hate to say it.
Well, I'm sorry to say, you better turn right around and go back the way you came. It's time to bring Chippy home. But don't worry, I'll drive. Oh, yeah. With a wink and a grin, Derek scratched the back of his head. You chuckled right along with his mom. You had a great time staying with the Suarez family, but were very much looking forward to seeing your moms and being reunited with your own sibling after a humorous short time apart. There would be plenty more moments of fun and laughter to come when you were. Thanks to Derek, it was truly an occasion worth commemorating. Commemorating? Yeah, I guess that's the word. Well, that's the end of that. That was a long moment, too. Wow. When I come back to this, we'll be doing the board moment, and then it'll be then the summer ended, because there is more of the to this you'll see, of course. So there's more that we're going to be doing with Derek, of course. More stuff that we're going to be doing. But anyway, in the meantime, thanks for watching on my YouTube channel. Don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button. For those of you who haven't done so already, I'm going to go ahead and save right there. There we go. And don't forget to check out my Patreon account and become a Patreon contributing member. Remember, all the membership funds that go in there go directly to charity. So you would be doing a good thing by helping out the charities that need the funds. And to show appreciation, I will announce your name at the end of every video to show appreciation for becoming a Patreon contributing member. As I said before, I don't see a penny of the funds. It just goes directly to a charity that I choose from, a worthy charity. And you can find the link to my Patreon within the description area just below the video. So, the next time I'll be recording, we'll be back on the Scoutmaster season, Cat Buddy Scoutmaster season. So, bye for now.